Hi everyone, guys. Thanks so much for joining today's session, how to configure global SLAs in Jira and JSM with less admin work. And if you are managing SLAs in Jira and JSM, you know it's not always simple, especially when things go beyond Jira service management, because let's be honest, the real problems often appear when ticket moves across teams, across time zones, or even tools like between Jira service management and Jira software. And that's why today we are not just talking about SLAs work in JSM, but how to design them in a smarter, more scalable way across Jira. And before we dive into the topic, let us introduce ourselves. I'm Diana. I'm leading the customer success Deviniti. And on a daily basis, I'm helping customers to work closely with our product. And I've seen how minor SLA issues can snowball into significant challenges, particularly with configuration errors. And at times, admins have faced confusion about requirements across different teams. And I've seen from our own playground that it causes some configuration problems and configuration errors. And this is why I am excited for today's session with Marta, as we have the opportunity to talk a little bit more about our own experiences, to gain clarity, to try to show you how you can configure and address some challenges you can meet in your SLA journey and make some positive impact, I hope. And as I mentioned, I'm joined by Marta today.
Hi guys. My name is Marta and I'm a senior product manager at Deviniti. And I'm focusing basically on building ITSM applications from scratch within the Atlassian ecosystem, of course. And lately, I've been working on a new app, which is designed specifically to simplify and help you in SLA management. I've spent quite a lot of time talking to different users who deals with SLAs on their daily basis, from support leaders, team managers, and Jira admins. And I hope that I will be bringing their insights and their pain points today. And hopefully you will walk away from this webinar with some ideas to make your work a little bit easier too. So what we have planned for today: first, we will start with exploring the topic why SLA management in general becomes very often a mess and what usually causes that mess. Then we will talk a little bit about 3 key steps to bring the structure of the SLA management back. With some additional tips, maybe some best practices, we will try to cover that for you. And then finally, we will show you 2 real-world use cases. One will be a little bit simpler and the other one will be more complex. And we will walk you step by step how they can be configured. And of course, we will wrap it all up with a Q&A session to answer your questions. Our goal here is to give you a clear, practical approach to building SLA processes that can be scaled without drowning into admin work, which is very manual, right? So the whole session will last around 1 hour, with around 10 minutes or so for questions. Diana and I, we are making a pretty good team when it comes to chatting about real challenges. So we hope this will feel for you more like a conversation than a lecture. We are recording this session and we will send out the recording after this webinar with some additional materials, of course. If you have any questions along the way, please drop them into chat. We will try to answer them along the way.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, Marta, for introducing yourself and for introducing us and sharing the details about the agenda and housekeeping. And let's dive into the topic. And my first question for you, for me, and for everybody here is, why can managing SLA in Jira and JSM get messy? In my opinion, in theory, it sounds pretty simple. I don't know how about you, but in practice, for me, things get complicated fast sometimes. Why? Because each team might have different SLA rules, different calendars, different workflows in the projects, in the issue types or request types. And at the end of the day, admins end up duplicating the same configs across projects just to keep things running. And, and when you add multiple time zones for each of your team, multiple working hours, holiday into the mix, it gets even more complicated. It's also hard to get a clear view of SLA performance across multiple teams. Why? Because at the moment a ticket moves between projects or teams, SLAs can break, can restart, or just stop making any sense sometimes, right? Not to mention that Jira software doesn't natively have SLAs feature, which sometimes can be a big challenge if your process involves development teams or cross-tool workflows, right? And all of that leads sometimes to a confusion, to delays, and a lot of manual work, especially for admins. What do you think, Marta?
Yeah, exactly. It's well said, Diana. What we saw, because we did a research on the Atlassian community, and what we saw in the community threads and during user interviews confirmed that, and it's happening over and over again. So let's dive into the first challenge that we will explore with you today. It is from the community forums. So this one is more about configuration. Multiple support teams very often are working in one JSM project, but across different time zones with different working hours, and they're also having their local holidays, right? And we've heard about this scenario very often during the interviews as well. As you can see, it is also a topic on the community, in the community. So the need here, I would say it's very clear. So timers, SLA timers need to reflect the schedule of the team currently handling the ticket. And what is more, when the ticket is reassigned between different regions, the SLA should adjust dynamically, right?
Yeah, common pain point that we've decided to walk you through a real example today. So please stay with us because we will show you how to solve it natively in JSM later on. But stay tuned here.
Yeah, exactly. So, our second challenge comes up later, a little bit later in the SLA lifecycle. I think it's just as critical as this previous one, and even maybe more frustrating. I think it's more about the maintenance of SLA management. So let's imagine this second situation pictured on our screen, that you have set up around 100 service desks. Each of them has 2 SLAs, and that gives you 200 configurations that you need to maintain, right? And at the beginning, probably everything works and it's fine, but what happens if something changes? Then you need to face updating every single SLA by your hand, right? So one by one.
Yeah, and we can only imagine that instead of focusing on important work in Jira, you as an admin, you are stuck with copying, pasting fixes in SLAs across dozens of projects, right? And for admins and for organization, it's a massive waste of time, of energy and sanity, in my opinion. And the big challenge that we know from our own playground, our own experience, is that the Jira software doesn't support SLAs tracking out of the box. What do you think about that, Marta?
Yeah, again, we hear this a lot during the interviews, and let's be honest, it was one of the main reasons that we decided to build SLA time management. So many of our interviewers needed SLAs beyond JSM, especially in development projects, right? So for example, in addition to classic SLA configurations with specific targets based on duration, they would like to track how long issues stay in a given status. So for example, in a code review status, let's say. They would like to identify, thanks to that, bottlenecks in their internal processes, and it's not possible out of the box, right? And of course, there are many more challenges around SLA configurations, and we are aware of that, both from the configuration part and from the maintenance of SLA. But we picked for you those three based on our interviews and based on the community threads, because we didn't want you to, just have a list of the problems and leave you hanging after the webinar. So as the last part of our meeting, we will walk you through step-by-step setups that can solve those issues that we mentioned, and they will be a real-life examples.
Perfect. Thank you for the spoiler. No worries. So we can, I think, go to that next question, because you've mentioned that there are a lot of challenges across SLA tracking in Jira software, in different industries, in different organizations. But based on everything you've analyzed so far and the teams you've spoken to, have you noticed any universal rules, let me say, that teams can follow when it comes to the SLA configuration or planning?
I'm smiling right now because honestly, there's no one size fits all rule, right, for SLA success. SLAs are just one part of much bigger business processes. I think you are all aware of that are happening in Jira and JSM. And some companies create separate service desk per each client, right, for each client. And others use another approach. They are using one project, but they are having a lot of different request types. So the challenges here are different, and the solutions can be very different as well, depending on the approach. But we were able to distinguish three basic steps that we recommend for every team to follow. So first, start with defining what your SLA should achieve, right? So what you need now, and think about think about the future. So what you will likely need in the near future, because we all know that businesses are evolving, are changing, the requirements very often changing from quarter to quarter sometimes. So we need to think about the future as well while planning your SLA. Then start small, build the SLA logic on a small scale, test it, live with it, work with it, maybe for one project, maybe for one request type even, just to check if your logic that you were building is correct. Then start to scale it, right? Once you are confident that it will work, start to introduce this logic to more teams, to more projects, and so on.
Okay, it makes sense. So let's start from the very beginning. When defining SLA's objectives, what, in your opinion, should teams actually do here on this step?
First of all, please don't skip this step, because I know it's tempting to jump straight into the building and configuring and testing and playing with the SLA, with the possibilities of different tools. But a little bit of planning can save you a lot of time and can save you from redoing everything after you realize that your needs are a little bit different than you thought at the beginning, right? So when preparing for SLA configuration, always try to assess the three areas. First, think about project types and scope of SLAs. So where and how widely you would like to use and apply your SLA in the organization. How many different projects you would like to include in your SLAs. Then think about the configuration flexibility. So what level of complexity do your SLA conditions require? Or do you need to, combine, for example, several conditions to be able to start SLA counting? Or maybe only one condition is enough for you. And then at the very end, think about the visibility and the maintenance, because it's also very important to think about who would need to see your SLA, how they will access this SLA, And what happens if something in your SLA contracts change? How would you manage that? How would you update those changes in your setup, right? And to help you out, we put together 3 questions for each of those areas. And the more answers to those questions are yes, the more likely it is that you will need something that goes beyond native JSM feature, either with creative workaround or with a dedicated add-on. So for instance, if your SLA contract are based on business days, for example, or on exact days, not on durations, right? Or if your SLAs, as I previously mentioned, need to reflect multiple fields and they need to depend on multiple fields, you probably will need some extra tools. But if your needs are a little bit simpler, like, running few SLAs in JSM, even across different time zone, we will show you that in a minute, how is it possible. A little spoiling alert again, the native functionality might be just fine for you.
And I love it because it looks for me like checklists maybe, and it can be really helpful for Jira admins or service managers or team leaders figuring out how to get even started with the objectives, with the SLA planning. And remember, guys, you will get to all of today's materials and even more. Third spoiler alert, and the recording, of course. So you don't need to rush to write this or make any screenshots. Just stay tuned. We will send you these materials as well. No worries. But let's get back to business, because sometimes we know that for admins, it's better to understand the technical language, maybe. So how we can translate those objectives, those SLA objectives you mentioned, into technical SLA configuration, into SLA logic? Do you have any tips from your interviews on where to begin?
Sure. So once we define, as you said, business needs, the goal here is to translate and to embed those requirements into the system, right? So again, I would go with 3 steps and recommend you to start from defining calendars. So setting working hours and thinking about holidays. And, if you have several teams, maybe you should have different calendars for every team. Even if you consider your, for example, support team as a whole, but they are working in different places on the world, they should have their own calendars, right? Then you should start with defining your SLA goals, SLA targets, and finish the configuration with SLA conditions. And each step has its own nuances, but the structure will really help you to get things manageable. And to make things a little bit easier for you, we've put together 10 best practices that we recommend. And of course, a few of them are especially worth highlighting. Whether you're configuring SLA natively in JSM or with the help of an. And first, try to minimize manual holiday entry. You can prepare an ICS file, either pulled from your calendar, company calendar, for example, from Outlook or from Google Calendar, and simply upload it to native Jira, for example. You will have a lot less manual work. It will save you a lot of clicking. Second, take a look at the fields that are already used in your request forms or on your issues to narrow down the scope for the SLA goals, right? So if none of them quite fit for you, consider, of course, adding new ones, but reusing those that you are having already in your system will make it much easier to filter issues with JQL in a precise and reliable way. And the third thing worth to mention, don't forget about pausing conditions. This way, SLA timers will stop, for example, when you are waiting for the answer from the customer or when you are waiting for approval. What is also worth to mention, don't be afraid to include breaks in your working hours. So if your company has scheduled break every day during your working hours, just put it in your calendar, right? And this will keep your SLA data honest and aligned with actual team performance. Okay, enough with the theory. Let's get more practical. It is the most, important part of this webinar, I think. So Diana, I will pass the mic to you in a few seconds so you can show our participants how to tackle the challenges we discussed earlier. So let's start with the first scenario. So managing SLAs for multiple support teams across different time zones within one JSM project, right? So let's think about the challenge that we are having here. So global IT service desk teams that are operating in different time zones and in different working hours. We are having here in this example, in this use case, 3 teams from Poland, from Brazil, and from Japan. And SLA timers need to reflect their local schedules, right? And when ticket is reassigning between those teams, between those regions, it requires to be dynamically adjusted, right? And the solution here is native SLA in JSM. Diana, would you like to show us how it can work and how we can configure that?
Of course, I will do my best. We can use native SLA in JSM and native custom fields and combine them to have recalculation of the goals based on specific input in the fields. So what is the action plan for it? To address the challenges Marta mentioned is for sure to create separate calendars for each support team, right? Along with the time zones, with the working hours, with the holidays, and we need three different calendars: Poland support team, Brazil, and Japan. And then we will create an SLA as an example for time to resolution with goals based on the custom fields, customer location details with specific conditions to start counting the SLA, pause it, and finish. And as I mentioned, of course, at the beginning, if you need any specific data to be able to put in the JQL statement in the goals, please remember to add it. I've skipped the part of creation, the custom fields, but believe me, I will use the single select, the type of custom fields to fetch the data about the location of our customer, to be able to assign specific goal and specific calendar from specific support team. But before, let's go to the project settings, to the service project. We will create first calendar for our team. First of all, we will create calendar for Poland support team. So we provided the name and the time zone, of course, as it's related with Poland. So we have a Warsaw time zone. And the second step is to provide working hours, right? So you can choose from Monday to Sunday, whenever your team is working, and provide specific working hours in which the SLA will be counted as well. As you can see, our Poland support team is working with a little or not little, it depends, break from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. So you can adjust the working hours with the break and as well. And the next step is holidays. Everybody deserves a holiday. Probably you agree with me right now. And so you can provide the holiday to pause your SLA metric. It's really important to count SLA metrics fairly. Depends on the working days for your teams. And you can manually type every holiday you need, or you can prepare an ICS file, as Marta mentioned at the beginning, and import it automatically. Of course, you can later adjust it to your needs, like frequency, like dates, like name, but you can also do it automatically. No need to manually typing everything here. And after we are set it up with the work week, with the holiday, we are ready to save our first calendar. Believe me, I've created 3 different ones. I've skipped this part to gain more time to show you more configuration, but I've created 3 different with 3 different time zones, different holidays, and different working hours. The next step is to add SLA in native JSM and SLA configuration. So our first will be time to resolution. You can create your own. You can use the default ones. It depends on your needs, on your practice, and what you would like to count here. So we've put the name, and in the goals, we will use JQL to provide the specific conditions, specific data that should be met to assign specific goals to it. And as I mentioned at the beginning, we will use custom fields, customer location details, to be able to assign appropriate calendar of Poland, of Brazil, or Japan support team. And of course, JQL is really powerful. So you can put here a lot of more information from many custom fields and system fields you need. We will set here just only once to show you how you can do it. So if I put here on the first JQL statement, the Warsaw customer location details, that means for me that I should assign here Poland support team, of course. So let's do it. Let's provide the duration time for our Poland support team, time to resolution here. And after, I need to have for Brazil and for Japan as well. So I've put here a JQL statement with Sao Paulo and Tokyo and provide appropriate calendars into the goals. And I believe we can go further to set the correct conditions. It's really useful to optimize the process, because we know that sometimes SLAs shouldn't be counted just after the issue was created till the end, and even more. Sometimes we need to pause it. Sometimes we need to start counting from specific status or with specific data in the issue, and finish counting when the resolution, for example, is set, right? So thanks to the condition, you can optimize this process and use, for example, statuses, for example, a resolution from, for example, when assignee is changed from unassigned to assigned or any other, just to optimize this and gain more efficiency when it comes to the counting of the SLA. And the last but not least, it's a format display of the SLA. So you can put here date-centric, due date-centric to see the specific date in which you need to achieve your SLA. Time-centric to see how much time is left, for example, to get the issue resolved, or how much time you reached the SLA here. So it depends on your needs, guys. And this is it about the configuration of the SLA. And on the next step, I would like to show you an example with the reassign dynamically the SLA, because we've mentioned that it's really necessary for that global IT company to adjust goal based on the changing within the customer location details. And we will do it to see whether it's working or not. So on the request portal, we will see the Sao Paulo location for our customer. And as we go directly to the issue view, we should see that it's paused 40 hours left, because it's accorded to the Brazil. But whenever we change it and refresh the page, it should be reassigned to another goal. So as you can see, it's working right now because it was assigned to the Poland support team. So to wrap up, challenge, in my opinion, was accomplished because we've created separate calendars, right, for each support region. We used a custom field to capture the customer's location, and we set the goals based on that location using JQL statement in the goals. So thanks to it, in the native JSM, we ensured that every ticket follows the right working hours and holidays based on the JQL statement here. Okay, I believe we are ready to jump into the second use case. Marta, would you like to introduce the second one?
Yeah, thank you for the first part. It was great to see how it can work and how it can be configured. So let's move on to the next challenges. I will just shortly remind you that it's regarding the SLA rules that are duplicated manually, that need to be duplicated manually across projects, and that there is no native SLA support for software, Jira software projects. And all of that can be solved with one approach, which is SLA time management. And we also expanded here this use case, those challenges, to reflect some of the common challenges that we have met while talking to different customers. So especially from software teams, and they are dealing with this on their daily basis. For one, it's often unclear how long it actually takes to fix a bug, right? And on top of that, the issues can sit in statuses like code review with no clear next step. And without proper SLA tracking, it becomes really difficult to spot bottlenecks in their processes or decide which bugs should be prioritized right now. And the solution here can be our application SLA time management. So Diana, would you like to show us how the configuration might look like and how it can work?
Yes, of course. So let me jump directly to the action plan to address these challenges, because as Marta mentioned, that natively right now it's not possible to add SLA tracking directly to the Jira software. And we know from our own experience that it's really useful to have such tracking, especially when we are working between support teams, customers, and the dev teams. So the action plan to address these challenges is SLA time management application. And in that application, we will create a calendar for the dev team, the same as we've done in the native Jira, like with the time zones, with the working hours, with the holidays. And here we will create two different SLAs. One, it will be SLA time to fix for better prioritization when it comes to the bug fixing in the dev team. And in that specific SLA, the goals will be based on bug priority, and they would have duration time to achieve the SLA. Of course, we will have also conditions and calendar alignment. And the second one will be a little bit different, because it will be SLA for time spent in specific status. So the goal with the target will be set as undefined. Now, there will be no duration time. There will be no hours or minutes to meet the SLA. We will work with this to monitor and analyze the bottlenecks within our teams and within our backlog, for example. And like we've mentioned backlog, at the end of the use case, I will show you how you can configure the visibility of such metrics in the boards, in the active sprints, in the backlog, in the Scrum. Of course, you can use it in the Kanban, but I'm using the Scrum here. And how you can use JQL to search and filter SLA metrics. Okay, so without further delays, I believe we can start. So we are already in the SLA time management application, and the first step is really nice one, because we will be preparing Poland developers work calendar. So we set the name and we set the time zone here. We will provide working days and hours. It works really similar to the native solution when it comes to the work week. And the only difference here is that in the working days, you can set one general working hours for your checked days, or you can set the different hours for each day. If you have like one general working hours, you can set it once and avoid typing the same days for each of your day. The second step in here, or third one, I should say, is to set the holidays. Developers also deserves a holiday. They are working really hard, so they need it. So here you can also put it manually, one by one, import from another calendar if you create already some calendar and the holiday will be the same in the Poland developers calendar, for example, you can import this, or you can import national holidays from our database. SLA Time Management provides a database with a holiday. So if you select a country, you can import your holidays and adjust it if it's necessary to your needs here. No need to upload ICS file. We have a database in this case. Okay, I believe we are ready to go. Next, believe me, I saved it, calendar added successfully. As you can see, we have a preview of such calendar right now. So no need to go directly to specific calendar to see the configuration. We have the preview in here. Right now it's used in no SLA. That's why we will be working towards creating ones. So in the SLA, it's time to configure the first one. The first I mentioned, it's time to fix, right? So we set the name of it and we provide the description. It's optional, but believe me, it's good practice to have the documentation for each of the configuration in Jira. Not mention SLA, but in Jira in general, it's good to have the description for the purpose of your configuration. It's easier to review everything after we even forgot what was the creation purposes. So let's go next. And what is great in SLA time management, that you can share your SLA across multiple projects. And by multiple projects, I mean Jira software project, Jira service management project. So if you need to have this time to fix SLA, for example, in 2 or 3 projects like Jira software, you don't need to manually configure everything from the scratch under the project. You have one centralized access to the configuration, and you can share the SLA within your project. As you can see, I have shared it to the Backwatch and Backbusters project. That means that is Jira software. And the next step is goals, of course. So it works really similar to the native solution. You set the name, you set the calendar, of course, and JQL. But in here, we have something like goal target type. I will explain a little bit later how it looks like in the SLA time management, because here you can set 4 different types of goal targets here. In this specific case, we will use like usual one, like duration time, right? And we will set the duration for the critical bugs and specific calendar. That means it's Poland developers work calendar, right? And JQL statement. And I've created this for critical bugs. So I need to put here specific issue types and priority as a highest one. Of course, I need to monitor time to fix in more than critical bugs. So I set major bugs goal, minor bugs goal, and trivial bugs goal as well. So I've multiple this, and I will skip it right now to show you the next phase. The next phase is, again, really similar to the native one. You set the condition under which the SLA should start counting, be paused, or stop counting in here. And you can use, of course, status, you can use assignee, you can use priority, you can use issue is created condition, or you can even, when it comes to the statuses, you can specify the transition from which you would like to count specific SLA here. So second SLA, like I've said that we need the second one, undefined ones, right? Time spent in status. So the goal here will be undefined because we need to measure time spent in specific statuses in here. And as previous, you said the name of the SLA, optionally the description, but I recommend it, and choose the projects in which you would like to use SLA metrics and the goals. The goals will be really similar to the previous one, but with the different goal target type. And as I mentioned, in the SLA time management application, you can set 4 different types of goals type. So the first basic one, it's duration. you can set the hours, minutes to achieve the SLA. The second one is the business days offset. So you can put specific numbers of business days in which you would like to achieve specific goal, like 2 business days, not like 16 hours, but 2 whole business days as your goal. The third one is a date. It's work based on the date picker you are having in your instance. So it's working similar to the due date. So you can put specific date in which you would like to achieve your SLA. And the last one is specified. That means there will be no specific time in which we need to achieve the SLA, we need to achieve the goal. We rather will be monitoring how much time we spend or our tickets is spending in specific statuses, for example. And of course, as I mentioned, it's for analyzing purposes. We've put here a Poland developers work calendar because we still need to know how much time during working hours Poland developers working towards resolution, for example, in specific tasks. And we set the JQL as well as in the previous statuses if this goal needs to be for specific work items here. Of course, I've duplicated, I've set all the goals in here, and I'm with the defining the conditions here. So right now, as you can see, I have only some conditions under which our SLA should be begin and end. And as you can notice, there will be no pause in this specific SLA metrics because we need to know the whole time spending in the progress, during the whole workflow processes, and we don't need any pause in here to spot bottlenecks or prioritize work and even better. And the last thing, which is great in my opinion, if you want to provide the information about the SLA on the customer portal for the customer, you can use the first checkbox in here. So this provides you the possibility to show your customer in the request view information about the SLA here. And the last thing is to hide panels for SLAs that haven't started yet on the issue view and on the customer portal here. So we know that sometimes, and probably Marta will confirm and nod right now, that sometimes we know that there are many SLA metrics for specific issue: time to resolution, time to fix, time to first response, time to escalation, time to spend in status and stuff, and more, many more. And sometimes there is a lot of metrics that haven't started yet. So you have the flexibility to hide the panels in the SLA time management that haven't started yet on both on the issue view and on the customer portal in here. All right. The thing with the configuration is you can see that the metrics are configured. We have the preview with the useful information about the visibility I've mentioned a second ago, about the scope in which we have the SLA measured right now, goals and conditions we've set for specific SLA metric. And the last 2 things I would like to mention is to show you how you can combine the SLA time management to be visible in your boards, in your projects in Jira software. We know that sometimes it's really important to have the information at hand, right, on the boards, because many of teams are working daily on the boards to prioritize the work, for refinements, for retrospective and stuff. So it's super useful to have the information right away. Right? So let's go to the configuration of the boards. So it's work perfectly within the native Jira functionalities. For do that, we need to go to the board settings and to the card layout here. In the card layout, in the Scrum project, this is the example of the Scrum project. You can do similar things within the Kanban, of course. when it comes to the visibility of the SLA. Here you can add up to 3 fields to be visible on the boards on specific card of the issue. So here we've put here on the backlog 1 SLA and on the active sprints 2 of them to see them on the practice. Results, as you can see, the metrics were added to the board cards. We have information that both they are on time remaining, time spent, so we can spot the bottlenecks for sure thanks to it. And we know already that something needs to be prioritized, and we can check the same information on the backlog. For example, if we need to add on the sprint because SLA will be breached or is at risk to be breached, it is great to have that kind of information on the card layout. Okay, and of course, the same statistics and even more can be displayed and expanded with the details in specific issue view. So as you can see, we have a lot of details about both of the SLA metrics, like dates that have started, the target date, remaining time, spent time, percentage coverage of spending time in the time to fix. So it's really good to have those information to be able to monitor SLA even more. And of course, as I mentioned, thanks to the support for many JQL queries in the SLA time management app, you can filter and search for SLA metrics that interest you and track it even better. So you can see that something it's finished, for example, when it comes to the SLA, something was or is breached. Something is at risk to be breached, something is finished, something is even after working hours. So you can see the information that right now the team, it's not working because it's after working hours and more. So thanks to it, you have a great flexibility when it comes to the tracking, prioritizing, and reviewing all of your configuration and work within the project. So to wrap up, I believe challenge was accomplished because we introduced our SLA time management. We've created, of course, the calendar for the dev team. We created 2 different SLAs, one with duration-based goal, one with undefined to detect the bottlenecks. We saw that SLA metrics can be visible directly on the Jira board, and we used JQL to filter and analyze for example, SLA breaches in here. Okay, I believe we can jump back to the presentation to summarize a bit of our takeaways today. So let me just quickly jump into this and switch the screen. One second. I'm working towards 1 minute. Okay, you can see my summary and key takeaways, right?
Yeah, it's
Perfect.
visible. Yeah, first of all, thank you, Diana, for the awesome walkthrough. I think it was, a lot of insights that we can take from you. And now let's wrap it up, all of the things that we covered during our webinar very quickly. It won't be very long, I promise. So let's start with the key takeaways. So first of all, plan before you start your SLA configuration, right? Think about your projects, about teams, about different time zones, if you need to cover them in your organization. And thanks to that, try to decide whether you need native SLA solution, JSM solution, or you will need more advanced options. Then think about setting team-specific calendars. We mentioned that before, that especially when teams were working in different time zones, it will be really important to define every calendar for each of the people from different regions. Think about pausing timers when it's needed. So especially during the breaks. During the breaks, during the weekends, during the holidays, and on specific statuses such as waiting on customers, for example, or when you are waiting for some approvals from your managers. What is really important also, try to use your fields that you already have in your Jira instance, right? So if it's possible, reuse those fields to narrow down the scope of your SLAs, and it will help you in streamline the whole configuration. And the very important thing at the end, target only what really matters, right? So apply goals precisely using JQL filters based on issue types, based on priorities, labels, maybe on custom fields that we showed you on the first example. So track only what really is important for your company. Okay, we have around 2 minutes for questions. Yeah, we told you that we are quite talkers.
Marta warned you guys
Yeah.
that we are talkative.
Yeah, so let's very quickly jump into the questions. Do you have any during the webinar? Maybe something appeared. Yeah, I can see one question. Okay, one question from Zofia. Thank you for your question. Okay, is there a way to copy SLA configurations between projects? Diana, would you like to handle that?
Yes, you can in the SLA time management. Natively, it's not possible right now, but in the SLA time management, you can share the SLA metrics with many projects. As I showed you, Backbusters and Backwatch, it was 2 projects in which we shared the same SLA metrics. Moreover, you can even, if you need a little bit of adjustment of your, for example, SLA, but you would like to avoid the manually typing the configuration, you can copy existing SLA and adjust a little bit and share with the other projects if you would like to do it. I hope I answered. Marta, if you would like to add something, you are more than welcome, but I hope it answered your questions, Zofia.
Yeah, I think you covered all of that. Okay, do we have any more questions? No, I can see only thanks from Zofia. So okay,
Perfect.
so let's move on because we are, we are finishing right now. We need to finish because we promised you 1 hour webinar. So before we wrap
1
up,
hour.
yeah, we are active on LinkedIn. So if you would like to stay connected with us, maybe share some your insights, ask some questions, feel free to scan those codes and connect with us. We are always happy to talk, as you can see probably. Okay, and there you have 2 more QR codes. One is for our SLA time management app. So if you would like to check it on your own and give it a try, you can scan this code and it will directly help you to find the landing page on Atlassian Marketplace. And the other one is for booking demo purposes. So if you would like to discuss your specific use cases, for example, or ask some additional questions regarding SLA, feel free to book a demo with us. So yeah, I think that will be all from our side. Sorry for the 2 minutes elongated meeting. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Diana, for sharing a lot of knowledge. I hope this session will be helpful for you and you will be ready to tackle SLA management in a more scalable approach. And at the very end, don't forget it will be sent to you, and both the recording and additional materials that we prepared for you. So thank you once again for staying with us and have a great day. See you next time.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Have a sunny day.
Yeah, thank you.